You're listening to the Fan Club Podcast, where two polar opposites discover each other's fandoms for the very first time.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Fan Club Podcast. My name is Sarah.
This is Matthew.
And today is episode 20.
Yeah.
And we are covering Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yes.
Today. I was not aware until we got to this point until we were planning out the podcast that Ant-Man had a sequel. And are they currently filming the third?
Yeah, the third one's Quantumania.
Are they currently filming it, or
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the promo pics of it have been leaked.
Okay.
So, yes, we don't have a trailer yet, but we've seen pictures of it.
Matthew has talked about the first Ant-Man so much.
I actually never have seen the second Ant-Man until
we watched it the other night,
mm-hmm.
which is so odd. I feel like it's so bizarre to me when you realize you haven't seen them, because I just kind of always assumed.
There's been a few, like I still have not seen like Black Widow.
Obviously, you haven't seen Multiverse of Madness because that came out after we started this podcast.
Yeah,
and you were waiting for me to be able to watch it.
I may change that.
And you haven't seen Love and Thunder yet, either. But
obviously,
that just came out the last.
Because that's still in theaters.
Yeah. So yeah, today we are covering Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was released in 2018 and directed by Peyton Reed, who also did the first one.
Yes.
What were your initial thoughts for this movie before we jump into the play-by-play?
I always like Ant-Man.
This movie was more heartfelt than the first one.
Because, think about it.
It was still just as funny, but it was more, emotional.
Yeah, think about it. With the second Captain America or the second Iron Man, they didn't have to introduce everyone. Everyone was already a player in it so that they could do a more, not heartfelt
more
story.
Emotional.
They didn't have to do the whole exposition.
Yeah. They
didn't have to explain who Hope was, who Scott Lang was, who Pym was.
Yeah.
How he got the suit. So they didn't have to spend a quarter of the movie introducing everyone. I
did like that we met the original Wasp. We met Janet.
Yes.
And she's played by Michelle Pfeiffer,
mm-hmm.
whom I love. I think this is gonna maybe age me a little bit, or show my age. But, I know Michelle Pfeiffer from Hairspray. She's the mom, Velma Von Tussle in Hairspray.
Was she Catwoman?
Yeah, she is Catwoman.
Okay.
But
for some reason I thought I was going crazy.
I think my first, introduction to her was Hairspray.
Mm-hmm.
With Zac Efron and Brittany Snow.
Yeah. That's not that long ago.
That was 2007. But,
that was 2006.
I was 13 when that movie came out.
I thought that was more recent.
No.
So, do you want to guess? I can finally ask you this question. Who do you think was the original Avengers in the comics? I haven't asked you yet.
It's different than the Avengers.
Yes, it's different than the MCUs.
So
3 are the same. 2 are different.
Tony.
And we've met them all.
Tony.
Yes.
Thor.
Yes.
Hulk.
Yes.
Ant-Man.
Yes.
Spider-Man?
No. Spider-Man was introduced until, I think, 1963. And the Avengers was introduced in 1962.
Who is the other
Wasp.
one? Okay.
It was Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, Ant-Man, Wasp were the original Avengers. Captain America was introduced in Avengers 4. So he was introduced 4 issues later to be part of the team.
It just makes me wonder why they chose the specific core Avengers that they did in the films.
I think it might have been a licensing thing. Because the original Avengers...
Unless they banked on the marketability of Captain America and Spider-Man.
That's I don't know, they've never really said...
I guess Spider-Man isn't in the initial core.
So, my
MCU.
opinion is Paramount only had the rights to those few.
The, Thor,
Iron Man,
Hulk,
that they
Captain America, Black Widow.
Yeah, that they only got the rights to those to make the movies. Not Ant-Man, Black Panther, Spider-Man.
I know that...
But Spider-Man is still owned by Sony.
Because I know that, as evidenced by the fact that you are vastly outnumbered in your Team Tony versus Team Cap debate, is that people love Cap.
Yeah.
And he is incredibly marketable.
Not for the longest time.
So it surprises me that he's not in the initial lineup.
Because he was introduced after the fact.
No. I get what you're saying.
But,
I'm just kind of surprised. Knowing after the fact.
But like, Tony, people could relate to Tony. People could relate to Ant-Man. People could relate to Wasp, because Ant-Man, Wasp, and Hulk...
Was he always funny in the comics, or was that more a Paul Rudd edition?
That's more like Scott Lang.
No, but is
not
that...
Hank.
No, I'm saying, like, Scott Lang, is he more...
I really haven't read a whole lot of Scott Lang comics.
Because... Or is that specifically a Paul Rudd edition?
That might be a Paul Rudd. Let me see when...
Because
he's the second of 3 Ant-Men.
Because Paul Rudd, in everything he does, is this brand of comedy.
Yeah.
Because that's just Paul Rudd.
So, Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, Scott Lang, wasn't introduced until 1979, which was the quote-unquote, dead era for comics.
Yeah. But it's because Paul Rudd, even as far back as, I don't know what his first roles were. I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah. But even as far back as, the, early 2000s, when he was in Friends, it's the same brand of comedy.
Yeah.
For lack of a better phrasing, it's very Paul Rudd-y.
So,
if you've seen literally any single interview with Paul Rudd, you, he acts exactly how you would expect him to act.
Yes. So,
obviously, I don't know the guy in person.
It might be more of that, and not so much of, Ant-Man.
So, let's jump into it. So we get a flashback to Hope's childhood.
When her mom and Hank are leaving for the mission where the mom disappears.
And Janet called her Jelly Bean, which I think was really sweet. And if you don't know us in person, Matthew's nickname for me is Jelly Bean. Don't ask where the origin of that is. We have no idea. It just kind of came up when we first started dating.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really sweet. Even though it's obviously it's a mother to a daughter, not a, romantic kind of affection. But I just thought it was sweet. And so we have a flash to Hank and Janet. Sorry I'm super sniffly, guys. I'm getting over a cold. If you listen to our last couple episodes, we've filmed these in
every couple days we do another.
So I apologize. It's a lot better than it used to be, so... But yeah, we flash to Hank and Janet disarming the missile.
Or trying to.
Yeah. And they need to, shrink... She needs to shrink between the molecules in order to disarm it.
Yeah. Hank was going to, but his belt was busted. So he couldn't.
And so, as a result, she turns off her regulator... And she goes subatomic.
Shrinks between the molecules.
Which is so heartbreaking. And the scene where Hank has to come home and basically tell Hope that her mom is gone and not coming back.
Yeah.
Is so heartbreaking.
Because she doesn't know where Hope is.
There's a flash to adult Hope and present day Hank. Talking, and they're wondering if there's a possibility that they can bring Janet alive, which is basically sets in motion our entire plot.
Which I want to say it's similar. I want to say that scene is right after the events of Ant-Man 1, the first one, because she still has the short hair. So I think that scene.
Which I'm sorry, Evangeline Lilly, that is not a good look on you. I think she looks really good the rest of the movie, but that wig does not suit her.
Because they were thinking, if Scott could go and come back, we could probably go and come back also. Which I think was right after the end scene credits of Ant-Man 1.
Yeah.
When she gets the suit. Because they're in the same outfit. So then we go forward to now, which is...
So it was a scene where Scott is playing with his daughter Cassie.
Which, it's been 2 years since Civil War.
Yeah, and they're on, a fake mission in the house, and we basically figure out that Scott is on house arrest. Yeah. And so he crafts this elaborate, thing for his daughter.
Ant tunnels.
Mission. Yeah. Fake mission.
Where they shrunk down.
And they make this, fake ant, and they name him Anton. I could do without some of the ant puns. The ant name puns.
You don't like the last one?
Antonio Banderas? No. I think it's kind of stupid, honestly.
That's the thing. I don't know if those are ad-libbed or not.
It's okay, saying it's stupid may be a little bit inflammatory. It gave a big old eye roll for me. And, maybe not in a good way.
But that is also Paul Rudd's, comedy, though.
I think it's super adorable, this scene where he's playing with his daughter. It's very much like,
you try to be on house arrest and entertain
a 10-year-old.
A 10-year-old.
But I also really appreciate that his ex-wife and her partner are, like, very supportive of, like, his relationship with Cassie.
I mean,
and
he did save the world.
No, and I fully respect that. I just think in their situation, it could be hella awkward.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate this, a very supportive family, and, like, you know, obviously they want Cassie to have a relationship with her dad, and I think it's very sweet. And, like, they know that he would never hurt her.
Yeah,
and
because
like,
he's also given up being Ant-Man.
Yeah, and I love that he goes to these great lengths to entertain her and have her have fun and be adventurous, but, like, still while obviously sticking to his house arrest. Cassie literally gets him a trophy that says world's greatest grandma.
Yes.
Which is like, this girl has the exact same sense of humor as her dad. It's so funny.
Yes. Because there was no other trophies after, I think she got it for him after defeating Yellow Jacket.
And we figure out that Scott and Luis they've started this security company, which, frankly, I think is the C plot this movie did not need.
I mean, it was just to show what
they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's just, it was so not needed.
But it does show that ex-cons can get jobs.
What is their business called? It's a pun.
It's ex-con security.
I thought it was a pun.
No, it's just ex-con security.
Oh, that's lame.
Or Xconvict or ex-con something.
I could have sworn it was a pun, but I guess not.
I remember the first part of it was ex-con.
So basically, they go down this, like, slide that they made, and they crash through a wall, and Scott's his house arrest alarm goes off. And so the FBI basically has to come by.
Which we meet
Wu.
Yeah, Agent Wu.
We learn that him associating with Hank is a violation of his parole. Yeah. Or not his parole, his punishment.
And parole, because he agreed to not speak to them anymore.
But he wasn't in prison. Parole is getting out of prison.
True. No,
it's it violates his house arrest, or violates his...
Because otherwise he would go to jail
his
for 20
terms.
years.
Let's just say that. It violates his terms.
I mean, he technically did go to jail. He was in the rap. So
yeah.
But
he escaped.
He made a deal.
Yeah.
Same as Hawkeye. So he's on parole.
Hold on, I gotta sneeze. I really love the montage of Scott passing the time.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, stuck inside, and he's, like, playing rock bands.
At this point, he only has 3 days left.
Yeah, something like that.
Of his house arrest.
It's just funny because he's, like, he's doing everything. It kind of reminds me of, like, early COVID. Mm-hmm. Where you're just stuck inside your house. Like, you didn't really have this issue because you were working as normal.
Yeah.
But, like,
also,
you literally will do anything to... I remember... me and your little brother were stuck in the house together. Mm-hmm. And just trying to, like, just trying to entertain ourselves.
Yes.
And I swear, like, we watched, like, every different kind of thing that YouTube had to offer. We played, like, every board game in the house. Like, getting furloughed with a teenage boy. It just reminded me of early COVID. So we figure out that Scott's been having nightmares about the quantum realm.
No. It's, this is the first time that he did.
Well, yeah, no, he has a nightmare about the quantum realm.
Yeah, he has a nightmare of the quantum realm.
Yeah, we figure out that he's connected to Janet in some way.
Yeah. Janet put a message in his head. Or, she put a message into his head.
And he wakes up.
This is a hide-and-go-seek scene where he is walking around as Janet.
And he, like, looks at himself in the mirror.
And it's Janet. And we see Hope hiding in a red cabinet. Wardrobe. We get the funniest line in the entire movie, in my opinion.
What?
When he's explaining his dream, how she was playing hide-and-go-seek, and he was like, well, that's not a very good hiding spot if you always hide there. You don't understand the game very well, then.
He wakes up in Hope's car, and basically she's
kidnapped him, essentially.
What I love is, so we figure out later that they have this, like, what do they call it? The Hot Wheels...
They're Hot Wheels, essentially.
Yeah, but it's like this, like...
It's a Hot Wheels container.
Yeah,
I had that exact one growing up. I had that exact Hot Wheels container.
But it's funny because we figure out that it's, like, a tiny car.
Uh-huh.
And
all just filled with different cars.
we see a fun rat, aka a pigeon, and then we learn that we're tiny.
Mm-hmm. And then Scott's freaking out because he's not home anymore.
And they basically took the ankle monitor off and put it onto the giant ant, which I still find disgusting. I don't like the bug
He's
stuff.
been programmed to be exactly like Scott Lang and be in the bathroom for 2 hours every day, drum for a couple hours every day, watch TV all day, sleep 16 hours.
They go to a lab, and
Probably the coolest lab ever, in my opinion.
it is pretty cool. But the lab is full of giant ants, which is disgusting.
I mean, there's only 2 of them, and they need to build stuff.
No, but it's gross.
Up high.
I think I established how much I hate the bug stuff in these movies. I could do without it. I really could.
Well, there's really no more bug stuff going forward.
Hank is really, really mad that Hope brought him there.
No, he's just mad at Scott in general.
Well, because he stole the suit, right?
Yeah, he sold the suit and went to Germany and then had to destroy the suit.
He didn't really
At this
destroy it.
point, we believe he destroyed the only Ant-Man suit. At this point.
Yep. And we basically learned that Hank and Hope are building what they call the quantum tunnel.
Which they are also on the run because of Scott.
And he tells them that Janet put a message in his head, and he saw...
Or he explains the dream.
Yeah, and he saw the memory.
Mm-hmm. And then Hope freaks out.
And they have a debate on what is a wardrobe or a cabinet.
Scott Lang is, like, in the MCU, he's my favorite.
Okay.
Because he's... I mean, he is the average guy.
He's an everyman.
Yes. He's an everyman. He has no special abilities. He got lucky with getting the suit.
Yeah.
He got lucky. If he didn't go to jail, he would never have gotten the suit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally right place, right time.
They shrink down the lab, and it basically looks like a rolling suitcase.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes wildly inconvenient later.
Yes.
With
the ability to shrink. But it's still cool because you can take your lab anywhere.
And somebody is watching them.
Not creepiest, but the oddest villain so far, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll get a little farther into it later. Hope goes to meet, I cannot think of his name right now. I wrote it down somewhere, but...
Black market dude.
He's, like, basically buying and selling black market tech. And, Hope...
has been buying stuff from him to build this entire thing.
Yeah.
And he figured out who Hope was and threatened to turn her in if he doesn't tell them what they're doing.
And Hope becomes the Wasp, and she goes on the defensive.
Mm-hmm. Or she's been the Wasp.
No, I know, but she
turns into it, yeah.
She, puts on the outfit.
Yeah.
Hank has an extra suit for Scott.
Yeah, a prototype.
So Scott goes to help Hope. In the process, Hank gets captured, and they steal the lab.
Ghost steals the lab from underneath them.
They go to the office, Luis's office.
Yes.
And then there's this reference to Baba Yaga. Who is that?
It's the Russian dude.
The Russian dude?
The Russian dude. Baba Yaga, it's like a witch fairy tale in Russia. Russia, Ukrainian.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I cannot...
Baba Yaga has been used in a lot of movies. Where it's just like this older witch that will eat children. So technically like the witch from Hansel and Gretel.
I didn't at this point know that Ghost was... I thought she was an alien. And so that's what my notes say, is weird alien creature. So it turns out that we meet Ghost.
Yes.
Her name is Ava. We don't figure out her actual name until later.
Yeah.
But the actress is... I can't tell you off the top of my head, but she is in the show called Stranger on Netflix.
Yeah.
At least it used to be on Netflix. I'm not sure if it still is. But that show is so good. She's the lead in it. It's excellent.
It's interesting.
It
is a British show.
I'm going to try not to say too much about it because it's like, if you go in blind, it's like much better.
Even if you know what's going on, you still...
She's basically stalking this family. That's all I'll say.
Families.
Yeah. But it's an interesting show, and I think she does a pretty good job with it.
Yeah.
They go to meet Bill Foster.
Yeah.
Who is played by
Lawrence Fishburne.
I always get Lawrence Fishburne and Forrest Whitaker mixed up.
Forrest Whitaker was in Black Panther.
Yes, I know. And Lawrence Fishburne is Bill Foster.
Yes.
And he is also the guy from Matrix.
Yes. And Bill Foster in the comics is the original Giant Man. So in the comics, Ant-Man and Giant Man were two separate people at that time.
And we learned that Hank and Bill had a falling out.
Because everyone that works with Hank hates Hank. Because Hank has a massive, massive ego. That's bigger than New York City.
And all the while, Scott gets home, like, very narrowly.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't destroy the suit, but
he hid it in the
trophy.
world's greatest grandma trophy.
But Cassie took the trophy to school for show and tell.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to go to the school, and Scott tries to shrink himself, but he
grows.
But he shrinks himself to the size of, like, a toddler.
Yes. So, like, a first or second grader.
And so he goes, well, I guess first or second grader isn't a toddler, but whatever. Yeah. And he goes to, like, the Lost and Found to, like, grab a hoodie. And he's, like, wandering around like a kid. And I love that the teacher is, like...
Where's your hall pass? And then with him trying to reach it in hopes, like, treating him like a child. Like, so you've got it. You can reach it. You're so close.
They get the suit, and we meet Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes. Another funny name. Another ant pun. Okay, so we learn about what happened to Ghost.
Yes. So, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, long time ago, Hank fired Ghost's dad from working at S.H.I.E.L.D. He's the one who created the idea for the quantum tunnel.
And
so he tried to create it to siphon out the quantum energy. It blew up.
The experiment went wrong.
Yeah. The quantum tunnel blew up and
there's
broke part of reality. And
the effect is called molecular disequilibrium.
Yeah. Where her molecules are always in motion.
And they want to use Janet to try to cure Ava.
They want to use the quantum realm to cure Ava.
Yeah.
And then they learn that Janet is alive. And so they're going to siphon it out of Janet instead.
Yeah. Which is kind of messed up.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, there was not a whole lot more that they could do to save Ava.
Yeah.
Because Ava literally only had maybe a week to live before her molecules just destroyed themselves.
There's this scene where Scott is trying to, like, steal an Altoid, and Hank is like, no. We figure out that the tin of Altoids is full of ants.
Yeah.
Which is disgusting.
Full of giant ants.
Yeah. There's another scene of Luis recounting stuff.
Which is the entire events of Ant-Man 1 he is recounting.
To who?
The black dealer dude, the bad guy, the truth serum.
Oh yeah, he's under the truth serum. That's right.
Which is not called the truth serum. It just makes people very suggestive. Which is truth serum.
Oh, Birch. Ghost shows up.
They call Luis to have Luis bring over some stuff to the forest, which is where they have the building.
The lab.
And Ghost finds out that they're in the forest because she was watching Luis and scared everyone. Then we get another Baba Yaga scene where the Russian dude is just singing the Baba Yaga song, which was like that's their version of Boogeyman, is Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga vaguely
You've heard of
I feel like I've heard of it, but I couldn't tell you where.
It's been in, like, some horror movies that are in, like, the woods and stuff. It's similar to, like, Blair Witch.
I've never seen that movie.
But you know...
Never had the desire to see that movie.
But you know the quote-unquote events in Blair Witch. It's just a witch that would kidnap people. Or a spirit, or whatever she is.
So they turn on the quantum tunnel.
To find the or to get a hold of Janet.
Yeah,
and
to get the coordinates.
It messes up.
And Janet comes out in Scott's body.
Which is probably the second funniest scene in this movie. By
far.
Well,
it's kind of funny just because it's like Paul Rudd completely changes demeanors. Like he carries himself differently.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also very sweet.
Yeah.
When you think about it from like, this is her mom.
Yeah. But he's just holding Hank's hand, like, lovingly.
And I love when they, like, when he comes to, he's like, what?
How did we get up here? And then he just looks at him holding hands. But they learn that the message that she implanted were coordinates on where to find her in the quantum realm is really cool.
It is really cool. So the FBI is on Scott's trail.
Because the black market dealer, Birch, calls his FBI person that's in his pocket.
Yeah.
Like, we found...
The rogue agent.
We found Scott, Hope, and Lang.
Mm-hmm.
Or Scott, Hope, and Hank.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, cool. Let's go get him. Go get them, and...
The feds arrest Hank and Hope.
Because Scott ran back home because Wu went to his house.
And Ghost steals the lab.
From the FBI agent.
Yep.
Because the FBI agent steals it, and then Ghost steals it, which Ghost is just terrifying.
I love the scene where, so Cassie and her mom go to the house because she's looking for her soccer shoes.
Yes.
And Cassie is like covering for him, and he's like, and they're like, the FBI is like, where is he? And she's like, he's sick. There's throw up everywhere.
And he's like, really? Throw up everywhere? She's like, yeah, it's bad.
Like, I've dealt with worse than vomit.
And she's like, is it a lot? He said, is it a lot? And he was like, ooh. He's like, I have to go up there. And then Scott just walks out.
Yep.
And then fakes throwing up.
And there's like a really sweet interaction between Scott and Cassie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just love their relationship. It's very sweet and very...
Where she said he needed a partner. And he was like, yeah, I can ask Hope, but I don't think she really likes me anymore. And then she said, what about me? Wouldn't I be a good partner?
She's so sweet.
I'm like...
That girl is too smart for her own good.
She is Scott's child. Through and through. She is a Lang.
So...
Oh, and then Scott's ex-wife is like, you can't come in here. And then her police officer husband's like, yeah, they can.
Yeah, I do really enjoy that despite... I don't know his wife's name, but Judy Grier's character.
Mm-hmm.
I love that she, despite her and Scott kind of, obviously not working out, but they still have a kid together and they're still supportive of each other and like...
But I mean, he is paying child support now. He is, the demeanor completely changed from the beginning of the first one.
Well, I know, and like in the beginning of the first one, she's like, why are you even at my kid's birthday party? Mm-hmm. And now she's like, let's go to your dad's to look for your soccer shoes. It's just, I don't know, it's very sweet.
Yeah.
And like, I just love how like, she basically is defending him and being like, you can't search the house, even though they are well within their rights to.
Yeah.
But I just think it's very sweet that like, what exes do you know that would do that crap?
I can't think of any.
Like, I feel like most exes would be like, yeah, search his house.
But ex-wife is different.
So, I think when you have kids together, it changes things a little bit. I don't know. I've never been divorced, so I don't know how that works. I don't have divorced parents, so I don't know how that works. So, Hope and Hank are scheming to break out of the jail. Why they sit them in the same jail cell is beyond me. Like,
it's just the same interrogate. It's not jail cell. It's their interrogation
No.
room.
I get that, but like I've seen enough crime procedurals and police procedural shows.
But it's the FBI.
That you never interview two suspects together because one will always turn on the other. Ever.
I think it was more they were wanting.
I just don't.
I think they were just wanting them to stew.
I just don't think it's realistic for them to house them together.
And then Scott pretty much breaks them out.
Like
minutes later. After bailing on them and getting them arrested.
Yeah. So they basically... Scott tells Luis the location of the lab.
Yeah, that was earlier.
I know. But, because they have, again, this weird, dumb C-plot that I don't think really matters. But they have some kind of security big project that they're doing.
Because their business is going to go under.
They're trying to secure. And so Luis is, like, desperate to get Scott's, like, approval on something.
Yeah.
But, like, obviously Scott is in the middle of much more important things.
Scott should have just stayed home. It was literally just 3 days.
Right?
It was literally just 3 days. Put in a different GPS where the ants can follow it. So the ants are making the giant GPS in the sky. They get to the lab. They start building it. They send Hank into the quantum tunnel. Is distracting Ghost until Hank can get in. And then Hope miniaturized the lab, went on a chase with Ghost in them. Birch gets the lab. Ghost steals the lab from Birch.
And I love this scene.
Or no, I'm sorry. Ghost steals it from Wasp.
Yeah.
Birch steals it from Ghost.
All the while, Luis is basically Hope is like, he's like, it's in the Hot Wheels chest, and so he gets out like this purple car with like flames on it.
Yes.
And he's like driving that down the road.
He makes it small, big.
These are some pretty cool chase scenes. I still prefer the one in Black Panther with like the remote driving that Shuri does. I think that scene is really cool.
And then you just see Scott just riding a truck as like a scooter.
Yeah, so he's like giant.
Yes, he can't shrink. Because his regulator is broken.
And he's like riding like one of those like Home Depot dollies.
Yes.
He's like riding it like a scooter, like a kid. We get our Stan Lee cameo.
Yes. I don't remember what it was.
I think he's like a driver in traffic or something like that.
Maybe.
So all the while trying to outrun Birch.
Yeah.
And
so
the Pez dispenser.
Yes. Hope throws the Pez dispenser that Lang's daughter.
Do you like Pez?
Yes.
I think Pez is disgusting.
Pez's are awesome. They
are
great.
Every Christmas, my mom puts a Pez dispenser in our stockings at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And it took her until I was like 10 years old to realize that I was giving them to my brother and I wanted nothing to do with my Pez. And she was always like, but you always eat your Pez. I'm like, no, Mom, I gave it to Josh.
I like Pez. Pez are tasty.
I think Pez is...
Just the grape one. Grape and lemon.
It tastes like chalk.
It is chalk.
It's gross. I only liked them for like the fun character. But yeah, so he basically turns Luis is like playing with a Pez dispenser.
And Hope just takes it and makes it giant and destroys one of the vehicles that is chasing them. And during all of this, we see the quantum realm. We see all of the
quantum
different
tunnel.
In the quantum realm.
Yeah. So
the quantum tunnel is just the machine.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry.
So we see all of the different forms.
It's like intercut with scenes of Hank in the quantum realm.
Yes. So we see the quantum realm, all the parts that we saw in Ant-Man 1 plus more. So we saw the quantum void. So we see the quantum void. It looks amazing. It is
really like the cinematography.
Colorful and very molecular.
It almost looks like
It's the same thing that's happening to Ghost.
Yeah.
We see in there.
It almost like
It's the silence.
Like the way that they're like walking on it, it kind of reminds me of like a bounce house or something.
Yeah.
It's like it's very squishy. It's very like I imagine being down there would like really mess with your brain after a certain time.
That's what Lang told him. Like, there's nothing but silence.
Yeah.
It will mess with your brain.
Which is insane.
I mean, because there's been like scientific studies of people being in like the 100% like soundproof rooms. And after a while, you can hear your own heartbeat.
Yeah, I don't like that. I've never had a desire to do one of those like sensory deprivation pods.
And that's pretty much what I would think the quantum void would sound like.
I really don't like. I have like a weird like sensory thing where like I don't like being alone with my like my senses. I don't want to be too aware of my body.
Because I mean,
I feel like that would be like sensory overload.
Because in the quantum realm, you're smaller than sound. You're smaller than air molecules. You're smaller than everything. So you wouldn't hear anything. Because you're smaller than DNA. You're inside of essentially DNA.
Have you ever like had a moment where like all you can hear is the blood pumping in your body?
Yeah.
I hate that.
I get that like after working.
Yeah, but I mean I don't do that. But like or even if it's perceived, like if you're like super 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 anxious and like all you can feel is like your blood pumping,
like your heart beating, or you can feel it in like your wrist or like your ankle.
And like I could not imagine feeling that all of it. That is like super sensory overload.
And that's the quantum realm,
or
the quantum void at least to the part where it's like the diamonds things.
Like it's almost like the mirror dimension in Doctor Strange a little bit.
I think we made that comparison in Doctor Strange.
I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
That episode went live like 2 days ago as we're recording this. If that puts into perspective how far in advance we are.
We're like a month and like We're
So
like
that
2 months in.
we meet Antonio Banderas.
Yes. Or first we see 5 ants get eaten by seagulls.
Yeah. And Scott's
And
like,
he's
oh.
And he's like naming them all. And he's like,
I do not remember all the names.
I don't either. He's like, Ant 1, come to me. Chomp. Okay, Ant 2, chomp. 3, 4, 5, chomp, chomp, chomp. Come on, guys. Then Antonio Banderas. And then he gets eaten.
Yeah.
And Hank falls into the water.
Hank is losing his mind.
Yes. And
as soon as he's about to like completely go kind of insane, he finds Janet.
Janet finds him.
Yeah. I do find this a little bit unrealistic. Don't even look at me like that. If you could imagine the look on his face right now. I know.
I'm not even going with it's a comic book movie.
I know that
I
know that this is what I find the most unrealistic about a guy who can shrink himself.
What do you find unrealistic? That she can control the quantum realm?
No. It's more, I just don't like when things are too convenient in movies. Just because we need to put them in a nice little bow.
It's not convenient.
He's been searching for her for 2 decades, and now we find her?
Because she explained.
Does anybody sympathize with me here? Because
they explain why.
I would have found it a little more compelling if he was like, we've searched and searched and searched, we looked everywhere, we couldn't find her.
Because she said the quantum realm and the real world overlap every 100 years. And
no, I get it.
She explained how.
I kind of like when things aren't all tied up in a perfect little bow. It's unsatisfying to watch sometimes, but I like it from the sense of like, it just makes things feel a little less.
He was searching.
Maybe that.
He thought she was dead until Scott called him.
Maybe that is a hot take. I'm not sure.
Because Hank assumed that Janet was dead. Because he didn't know that you could survive in the quantum realm until Scott came back. And then they got the idea to save her. And they've been trying for the last 2 years. While on the...
Scott starts to feel like not well because he's like, he can't turn regular size anymore.
Because he was giant.
Yeah.
And he took the building and threw the building onto land. And then he passed out. And then Janet Wasp had to go save him.
Well, because they're on, like, a ferry.
Yeah.
And he basically is, like, jumps out in the middle of the San Francisco Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, God, that had to been terrifying to all those tourists. I've never said tourists in my life. Why did I've always said tourists?
I don't know. It is late.
So Ava is, like, desperate.
Yes. So she is pretty much on a killing mission.
She will, like, kill anybody in her path to be able to get this.
Which I blame Bill Foster for.
Completely. He, like, planted the seed in her head and, like, he knew that it wasn't realistic.
I blame Bill Foster for Ava. I mean, first I blame S.H.I.E.L.D. for turning her into pretty much an assassin. She was S.H.I.E.L.D.'s version of the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and the suit that she's wearing is like, it's like a containment.
Yes, thing. It contains her molecular destruction or dystrophy or whatever it's called.
Molecular
whatever. Her molecules from
disequilibrium.
Yes, the suit pretty much protects her from it, but the suit is starting to fail.
Janet and Hank make it to the real world, and Janet kind of feels her pain a little bit
and tries to cure her.
But, like, she can kind of sympathize in the sense that, like, she is feeling what Janet, in a way, felt when she was stuck in the quantum realm. And, so she tries to, like, kind of speak to her.
Yeah. And then Janet saves her to an extent. They still have to get more molecules for Wasp.
So Scott...
For her.
It flashes to Scott, and Scott is still giant, and he's passed out under the water in the San Francisco Bay, and Wasp has to turn him small, and it basically deflates the giant suit.
And then Scott's like, oh, I need to get back home.
Okay.
Then we see the massive suit, because she made the suit go giant.
Okay.
While Scott was running in a white shirt and boxer shorts.
And
through San Francisco.
He runs, and he somehow makes it home before the feds get there.
Because the feds sort of, I think, got trapped with
Yeah.
with the suit next to them.
And his house, they basically tell him that his house arrest is over.
Mm-hmm.
Even though technically he didn't follow the rules.
No.
Technically.
And
they got the big security deal that I did not really care about.
Yeah. And then we see Scott dancing through San Francisco and then going to his ex-wife's house. And the weirdest dancing ever. Typical dad dancing.
And there's this really sweet scene where Hank and Janet put a house on the beach.
The house that was in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's just really sweet. And I thought that was really cool. What a life that would be to be able to
shrink your entire house and go anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, you wouldn't even really have to pack up your stuff. You would just turn your house tiny.
I just don't know how you would do water or electricity.
No kidding, or Wi-Fi.
He is a genius. He could probably make Wi-Fi.
I'm just saying.
He could probably make something to where he doesn't need Wi-Fi.
And they create the smaller quantum tunnel.
Yeah, in the security vehicle.
Yeah, and this is where we get our end credit scene. Scott tries to go...
Or he does go into it because Ghost still needs more molecules, or quantum molecules, to cure herself.
Yeah.
And then we see them get dusted.
Well, no, yes, but Scott is trying to ask for help. Or he makes some kind of joke, and nobody responds. And he's like, guys? And it flashes to the outside, and everybody is dusted.
Yeah.
Which, I had a question at the end of Infinity War that I was like, because Ant-Man Wasp, he is next, so he had to have lived. But this solidifies the timeline that this was happening during.
Yeah. So, I was debating switching these two.
In our release order?
Yeah. To have you be questioning what's the dust.
Yeah, I'm really glad...
And then Infinity War would explain that.
I'm really glad you didn't, because I feel like this was much more... I think the end of Infinity War left me guessing what was going to happen. It made me want to watch Ant-Man and Wasp more.
Yeah. But, I mean, it would have worked either way in reality, because it would have been having you look for more answers. So it could have worked either way.
So overall, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's an Ant-Man movie, so I like it.
Like I said in the beginning, I thought it was more emotional than the first one.
Uh-huh.
But...
I mean, that's how, Far From Home for Spider-Man will be, because they don't have to explain the characters. It's the same thing, with Iron Man 2 and Thor 2. We didn't have to be re-explained to Odin, or Loki, or Thor, or Lady Sif, or the Brothers 3.
Really enjoy...
Or the Warriors 3.
I did really enjoy Janet. I think...
The very little she got.
I think Michelle Pfeiffer was a really good addition to this movie and to this cast.
Mm-hmm.
I think she...
The 3 lines she got.
No, but I'm just saying, I think she worked really well with everybody. I think she was a really believable... a believable casting. I think... demeanor-wise, I could see her and Hank have, created hope. And Hope having that trauma of losing her mom.
And again, another perfect Marvel movie that did the de-aging very well.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the first scene that Janet was in, I was having a hard time placing who this actress was.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not, it looks super familiar.
Mm-hmm.
But I could not place it until we saw Janet later, and I was like, that's Michelle Pfeiffer.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, I immediately thought, it was is that Betty's mom from Riverdale? Is that... And I kept thinking, who is this woman? Why does she look so familiar?
You didn't guess her by the voice?
I don't think it occurred to me. I just could not figure out why she looked so familiar to me.
Yeah.
I feel like I liked parts of this movie better than the first Ant-Man, and I liked parts of the first Ant-Man better than this one.
Yeah.
I think I liked the comedy in this one better than the first Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotions of... I don't know. I enjoyed bits and pieces of both.
Okay.
And disliked bits and pieces of both, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I loved the character development between Scott and Cassie.
Uh-huh.
I loved, the character... I just loved, the character growth of all the relationships. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is a wrap on Ant-Man and Wasp. Next week, we will be covering Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Which arguably is not your favorite.
No, not at all.
I'm excited to see it because I don't know what to expect. I'm excited to see it because I I want another badass female.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the fuss is all about. So, but also, before we wrap this up, we wanted to ask you guys, we wanted to do a Q&A episode.
Yes.
What were we thinking towards the end of?
I think at the end of Phase 4 is when we will release the Q&A.
So-
Because that would also introduce WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Widow,
So,
Doctor Strange,
any
Thor.
questions that you guys have about us personally, about our opinions on certain aspects of the MCU, your theories, anything like that, send questions our way. You guys can, all of our socials will be listed at the end of the episode or in the description box of either the YouTube or the Spotify episode. Just submit us questions. I think the easiest way to reach us is Instagram, probably.
Yeah, Instagram will be the absolute easiest.
And yeah, just anything you guys have to say, any question, can literally be about anything, other fandoms, whatever it is. Do you have anything else to say?
No?
Okay.
No.
Join
I'm
us
good.
next week for Captain Marvel, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to send us any feedback, you can follow us on Instagram at thefanclub_podcast or Twitter at fanclub_podcast. You can also discuss each episode with us on our subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/thefanclubpodcast. And make sure you tune in every Marvel Monday.